Welcome to the Garden Beehive YouTube channel. My name is Chris. Today we are going to go over how you can keep bees successfully and easily in your own garden beehive, the Layens horizontal garden beehive. So in this video we're going to cover equipment needed, education needed, swarm traps and how to get your bees all the way through your garden beehive, and how you're going to successfully keep bees all the way through winter, all the way through spring to next spring successfully without a bunch of trouble. So let's get started. So number one, education. This book is a wealth of information. Keeping Bees with a Smile, Natural Beekeeping by Dr. Leo. This is all the information you need to have. You can see all the bookmarks that I've got in here. I've read this probably a couple times, two, three, maybe even 4 times, and referenced it a bunch more times. All the information you need on keeping bees in a horizontal hive, a Layens hive. So get you this book. You can get it on Amazon, or you can get it on horizontalhive.com. Wealth of information right there. So, number one, that's what you should be doing right now. So it is pre-spring, at least in this area. All areas are different. Get yourself some education. Get a game plan together. This is the start. Okay, so we've got that. The other thing is, some people use a full jumpsuit thing. I don't know why. If that's your jam, then rock it out. But I don't really see a need for it. I also see people use rubber bands around their ankles, around their pants. I've never had a bee go up into my pants. So maybe some are more aggressive. The mistake that some people make is they don't zip the vail, the top, all the way, or do the Velcro. Make that your top priority. Because if you get a wild bee up in here, and then you get freaked out because it's trapped in there and it's your face, things get real Western real quick. So what I use is just this jacket, nothing more. And it really depends, one, on my comfort level, my mood that day, the bees' mood that day. Sometimes I don't wear gloves, veil, nothing, because they're just super chill, and it's a lot more relaxing to do it that way. But when you get started, get yourself at least a jacket. It covers up the wrists, and it's tight around the waist, so to keep them from flying up in there. And mainly your face is the big thing. So there is that. And then gloves. I don't think they have to be like this long, but make sure to get specific beekeeping gloves. I believe they're made from goat skin. I'm not entirely sure why. It's super soft and thin. Maybe that's the reason. So again, depending on my mood, depending on the bee's mood, I'll either use gloves or no gloves, but I've always got them, and you should have them as well so that they're ready to go. So we've got that. A Hive Tool, super important to have. This is really all you need to have. They make one as well that's got a hook so that you can hook the hives. I think that's primarily going to be for the Langstroth hives, because they've got a little separation. You can get that hook in there and pull the hives up. This is all I use, all you really need. Get you one of those. Okay, so we've got that. A brush, a bee brush. Now make note, this is not what you're this is not an official bee brush. You should get an official one because the bristles are softer. So when you're brushing the bees, it doesn't hurt the bees. I'll be replacing this season, most likely. I always keep a couple Ziplock bags with me. When you're going through the hive, you're cleaning up the frames, you're taking some comb off from the frames, you're getting rid of some propolis. I like to save that, and I want to be able to put it into Ziplock bags. So those are pretty handy to have. I keep a pencil with me at all times. I'll usually write the number of the frame, either on the frame or make notes in the hive or in the frame, or you can keep a piece of paper, a notebook. Make it yours. Do your own thing. but having a pencil with you is pretty handy. And then, so a lighter for the smoker. They make all kinds of smokers. You can get a super expensive smoker. You can get a cheap smoker. Knowing me at the time that we got this, it was probably the cheapest option. She's still running today, so you don't need anything fancy, but you do need a smoker. Make note, when you're smoking your bees, keep it to an absolute minimum. Don't smoke them and stress them out more than you absolutely need to. If I can get away with no smoke, then I'll do that. The one thing that I find that the smoke is the most helpful for when you're closing up the hive and you've got all the bees at the top and you want to get those frames nice and tight and you need them to go down, you can do that, and that pushes them down into the hive. So that's really, honestly, where it comes in the most handy. I'll also smoke my hands, my skin, all around the veil to try and keep them away from me that way as well. So that's where the smoker, in my opinion, is the most helpful. Don't over smoke your bees. Okay, and then one thing I didn't mention, hang on just a second. I keep all this goodness in a nice closable container. So it's all in one place. It's all contained. It's somewhat clean, having it all in one place. And it's just super handy dandy. So all that goes in there. Put that in there. Put this in here. And the smoker. Did I get everything? Super cool. Boom. Next up, we need to get some bees to have bees in our garden beehive, right? This is a swarm trap. It's a little bit different than what you will find. So if you want to just buy a swarm trap and you're not going to make all this stuff, go to horizontalhive.com. You can get the swarm trap. You can get your insulated hive. You can't get everything, but you can get most things there. And that's just the easiest way to do it. I build these, and I built them specific for 8 frames. I wanted a hive that I could potentially keep the bees in over winter, and or keep the bees the entire summer from spring when they move in all the way through summer, because I'm not going to be able to collect most of these until the end of the year. And I wanted a little larger swarm trap / miniature hive for them to be in. This holds 8 frames. The ones you're going to find on horizontalhive.com are 7-frame swarm traps. You can get free plans on how to make these on the same website, and you can make it yourself and not have to buy one. I also built these to be extremely robust. They have fallen out of trees due to my poor construction on the back end. I'll show you that in a second. And they have not broken. They're full of bees, full of honey. It gets too heavy. And I had last year 3 of them fall out of trees. And they're fine. So super happy with the construction. But that's on you if you want to go through that and build a very robust, but yes, it's going to be heavier, swarm trap. Or you can just buy one and get started. Boom, immediately. Okay, the way that I designed mine, you've got the entrance. I've got some that are on the side, some that are in the middle, just to see if there's a difference between them. I started off with a hole in the middle without this extra board. I added this extra board to get it up a little bit, and I don't know if there was any other reason. I just don't remember. I'm sure I had a good reason at the time. But in any case, super simple design. So the lid itself, there is 2 layers of the house wrap that you can get. It's just a Home Depot house wrap. And that's on the top. I have yet to have any of these seep through, so water has not gotten through. So super happy about that. These live in the Pacific Northwest, in our Oregon property, super wet. It's like a rainforest. It's disgusting. But it speaks to this being able to survive that. So this lid just goes right on top, nice and simple. And when it's in the tree, hanging, gravity is enough to keep this on. You could go another step and put a miniature strap or come up with some kind of little thing. So I guess if you had bears or raccoons jumping up in here trying to take this off, it has yet to be a problem for me, so this is what I use. So we'll take the lid off. And then inside we've got 7 individual frames. 8. I'm stuck on 7 still. So 8 frames in here. Be careful of these little guys. And what I do is I just stick my fingernail over the top of this metal to pull these out. When you make these, be mindful of the wood swelling when it gets wet. I don't know if the camera picks it up. I'll try and get it a little bit closer. See this gap right here? I thought that was going to be enough. When this is full of honey, full of bees, and I collect it in the fall, it is everything I can do to get these out of here. It is tight, 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 tight. I've got a lot of them made, so we're sticking with it. But if I were to make them again, I would create a little more of a gap for that wood to shrink, swell, do whatever it does to make it easier to get these things out of here. In any case, so we can pull a couple of these out. There we go. This is how I get the. They're all the same, but I do want to show you inside because it's, again, very specific. Okay, let's cover the frame first. You can also get these frames pre-built from the Horizontal Hive website. I buy the pieces and then put them together because it's less expensive to do, and you save a little bit of money. If bees don't move in, the wasps will, which I think is what this is, and they'll start building their wasp combs in here. So, one of the downsides. But in any case, I use just these short little pieces. The foundation is wax, and again, I get this from Horizontal Hive. It's wax, I think it's from Italy or something. Not that, I mean, it sounds fancy, but not that you need wax from Italy. But it's pure wax, beeswax, from a natural source. It's not going to have diseases in it. I think it's the best quality beeswax that you can get, and that's why we get it. It comes in a full sheet for this size of frame. You'll notice, oh, you know what I should do? Since we're doing this, I'll show you the difference between this frame and a Layens frame while we're at it. Hang on just a second. Okay, I'm back. So this would be the standard, what everybody else is using, the Langstroth frame. This one is the Layens frame, so deeper by design. So, side note. Alright, so back to the swarm trap. So we're going to put 8 of these guys in. I'm going to fill them here. If budget isn't the issue for you, you can use the full sheets of foundation, which will cover this entire frame. It's going to speed up the process for the bees to move in, create their comb, put the honey in. I will tell you this in my experience. Because we leave the, I'm assuming it's because I'll put these up in the spring. We then go to Alaska for the entire summer. We come back in the fall. I collect them in the fall. They are full of bees. They are full of honey. They are full of comb. And I'm a little afraid to give them a head start because I don't want them to get too bunched up in there and then move out. Maybe I'm wrong. It saves money. It works. That's what I do. Okay, so on the inside of this guy, when they go in, the plywood inside is to the exact size to give that groove right there so it sits flush. One of the nice things about this style hive, when you open the top, it is completely sealed off and you're not met with a bunch of bees. I'm going to do some experimentation this year in doing something different, but that's going beyond the scope of this video. And then inside, there's little like 1x1 pieces. Hopefully you can see that. I hope that shows up. So then the bees have two. Loria's chasing the turkeys. So then the frames have two places to rest on because these get really heavy. So they've got that lip to rest on there, and then the bottom is resting on that little 1x1 in the bottom. So whatever that's worth to you. Ventilation is a super big thing, or they get too hot. You get a bunch of bearding on the outside. So to keep this as comfortable as possible for the bees, obviously you've got air in here, and then on the back, I've got two holes, and then there's a little wire mesh inside so that the bigger bugs at least can't get in there and make a bunch of trouble. Smaller little bugs can obviously get in there, but the bees will take care of them, and that gives them cross ventilation. I don't know, it would be interesting to try, and it might work better if I put these holes at the bottom instead of the top. Experimentation will prove that out. But it works pretty good. On another side note, so to speak, when I get a hive and I move it, when we get a new colony in a swarm trap and I'm going to move it to a full-size hive, you're supposed to go, it's either 3 or 5 miles, so that they're forced to re-navigate and figure out where they're at. Reorient, I think is the word. We have a pretty big piece of property, but it's not going to be 5 miles. So what we do, and what has worked successfully for us, is I will close this up so it's just the little holes. No bees can get out, but they get ventilation all the way through, and they're locked up in here for 24 to 48 hours. At least 24 or 48 is what I usually do. And that has always, knock on wood, that has proven successful every time. Once they're locked in there for that 48 hours, I'll do that at night so everybody's inside. And then I'll come back in the morning, not the next morning, but the next morning after that. So I guess we could do some math and figure out those hours. And I'll open that up. They'll pour out of here. They'll start buzzing around. They re-navigate and have yet to lose a hive with those bees going back to the original location. Do a few? Maybe. But the hives have always done really well doing that. We've got one on this property that's just like on one side of the cabin and on the other side of the cabin. We did that. That hive is doing good. Everybody stayed. There was no everybody going back to the original hive when we split that hive. Okay, so what am I going to do different this year? This, where I hang it from the tree, originally I put hooks in here and then chain. You'll see that probably in the opening video. And then I hung it from the very top. These get too heavy. I'm not confident in those little screws going in the side. I'm just not. You could probably do some 1x's in the bottom so it's sitting like in a cradle. So you could try that. I offset this back piece, put a hole. This is where I hang it in the tree. And that way the lid can still go on. What didn't work so well, and the reason they fell apart last year, is I just glued this piece to the plywood on the back. So this plywood, this little 1x, and then these are all screwed together. So what am I going to do different this year? I'm going to put screws from the inside to connect all this together. It is not coming apart. But nonetheless, I was very impressed with the quality of the build on these because they fell full. They're probably 50 pounds when they're full. And it survived. So that was good. So that's going to be your swarm trap. Yes, you can go get bees. And if you're in a big hurry, then you can go buy some bees. Here's the downside. That stock or those genetics are not going to be as strong and disease resistant. That's the big piece. You're going to get bees. They're going to have parasites, varroa mites. They're going to have all kinds of other issues that normal commercial beekeepers fight on the regular basis. With people that keep the Langstroth hives, you'll find YouTube video after YouTube video on how to control varroa mites. We've never had that problem. Never. I mean, knock on wood, right? You want the stronger stock, you want the stronger genetics of the wild honeybee population that has already acclimated itself to fight those things off. So, I think I talked about that in the other video, but I'm passionate about that because that's the way I see it to be. Let's go to the Garden Beehive. This thing is awesome. You guys are going to love it. I'm going to put this back together and then I'll put that on the table and we'll go through that. Okay, and boom, there it is. The Layens horizontal beehive. I like to call it the Garden Beehive because that's where I believe it is best suited. So you've got two options. You can buy one, and horizontalhive.com is a place to buy them if that's what you want to do. If you're somewhat handy, not super handy, but just kind of somewhat handy, you can make it on your own. You can get free plans on how to make this exact hive, which is what I did, at the same website. And again, I am not affiliated. I have no benefit of sending you all to horizontalhive.com. It's just the place. If you're going to get the hives in the future, maybe I have extra time and can make some hives and you can buy them from us, and that would be super cool. But right now I don't. I do have a bunch of extra that I built, but we're going to use them. So you've got those two options. You can buy one already pre-made. Get the insulated hive. He does sell an uninsulated version. Just do it right the first time. Get the insulated hive. Cost. Actually, let me grab the cost real quick so you know what that is. Okay, so currently $529 will get you an insulated hive, the lid, and 20 frames inside. It is not painted, so you'll have to paint it on your own. That's not a big deal. It didn't say specifically, but I'm going to assume they come with the gates as well. Or you can make it. Totally your option. I did some research because I thought originally it was going to cost a lot more to go this route opposed to the Langstroth hive that everybody uses. It doesn't. You're really at the same money at the end of the day. By the time you get all of the things, the bottom board, the screen, the bottom box, the top box, the upper top box, and get all the things, by the time you're actually done getting all the things that you really truly need, you're at the same money. You're going to save money in the long run by doing it right the first time because you're not going to have to redo it. You're not going to have to buy more bees. If you're buying bees, depending on where you're at, they can go anywhere from $250 to $300 for one colony of bees to get started. That is a lot of money in a Langstroth hive, and you will not get honey that first year. Each of these new hives that we do, I have gotten honey the first year. I'm preaching, huh? I'm not sorry. It's the way to go. So I built these on my own. I didn't buy them. I used the plans to an exact, did not modify anything. They're absolutely perfect. They use a aluminum edge. I did that on the first one. I mean, it looks good. It helps, if you're banging them around, but really there's no need for that. So personal preference on that. You could do it or not do it. Everybody seems to have the lids connected with some kind of hinge and then a string that holds it. I think all that gets in the way. I just do a lid that completely comes off and goes right back on. And then I'll use either a strap or a rope to tie it on so the wind doesn't blow it off, or if a raccoon or a bear tries to get it open, then they're at least going to have a hard time doing it. So that's what I do. Let's start at the top. So this is a house wrap. This is an upgraded house wrap from the Home Depot house wrap that I've got on the swarm traps. Number one, I just like the color difference. Personal preference. It costs twice as much, so I'm assuming it's somehow a better quality. I've got tar paper as the first layer, and then the green house wrap on top of that. And just like we just talked about with the swarm traps, I've never had water, and these all have snow sitting on them pretty much all winter, and then it melts off. I've never had water go through, so it works good. The upside to me is that it completely breathes. If you buy a pre-made hive, it's going to have an aluminum top. I don't know if that's better or not. This is just the way I chose to do it. Assuming that you are new to this, these hives are vented at the top, which is the reason I went with the top vents on the swarm traps. Heat rises, right? You want the heat to go out. And you get on this, the idea, you're getting a cross ventilation because you've got the same 4 holes on the other side. So as a breeze is coming through, then it's able to ventilate out the top, which is where you're going to get your condensation that's going to drip, and that's going to avoid that. So the top is not insulated for whatever that's worth. In the winter, you're going to put them to bed, so to speak, with a layer of wool that goes over the top. So then, in essence, the top is insulated, right? So that's the top. So I like to be able to completely take that off, get it completely out of the way, and then when you're working with the bees, you can work from the back as preferable. I tend to always work from the side. It just seems to work better, but whatever your jam is. What you want to try and avoid is working in the front where the bees are going in and out. So work from the side or the back. I don't have any strings in the way, nothing. Just get that out of the way. So I'm not sure why you would put that on there. Let's cover this. There's a few things that I think will help the bees figure out where home is. And with multiple different hives, the easier you can make it for them, I think the better. In my understanding, they're not going to see full color. They're going to see shapes and different hues of gray. So each hive is going to have a different variation. And we just found these on Amazon. I think you use them for little cutesy decorations or something. We found them on Amazon, and then Lisa, my wife, cut out some colors on her fancy little color printer thing. I forget what that's called. And we stuck those so there'll be different colors, and then we'll do different shapes with different colored hives. Your hives don't all have to be white. Make them all different. And then so that I can make notes on how each hive is doing, you can get these little number things, again on Amazon, and I don't do them in order. It's not that I've got 94 hives. I just grab one out of the bag, pop it on there, and then I can make a note, okay, hive 94, and make a list that year for how well it did, how old the queen is, all of those things that will help you manage your hive much better. Information is power. And then on the inside, it's really just the same design. Well, we don't need to turn it over. It's just a larger box. The same design with the grooves at the top, the 1x1 on the bottom to help support the frames. And this will hold 20 individual frames. I have yet to be able to get half of this full. I'm going to try some experimentation this year with having a queen, so basically a separate colony on each side, only separated by a queen excluder, so that both colonies can work together to fill this thing up, and a queen on both individual sides. It has been done successfully before, so obviously it can be done. And I'm going to try that and see if we can get a full one of these. That would be a lot of honey. That would be a lot of honey. So that'd be super cool. I don't know if there's anything else to go over on the hives itself. You do need to build some sort of a stand. I build stands so that you can stand here and do all your work at this level or a little above. Instead of stooping over and having to be bent over working on bees for an extended period of time. That's just not cool. Oh, one other thing. There's different gates that you can get. You guessed it, horizontalhive.com is where I got this one. They're kind of expensive. I don't remember the price, but they were more, so I found cheaper ones on Amazon, and I got those. What I didn't realize is these cheaper ones don't have these 5 holes here. Having these 3 different options, 4 with a big hole, is kind of nice. Lisa must be coming. So to be able to close it up like this, the bees can get in and out of these holes just fine. I think that's a perfect combination for the winter. Or you could do maybe 2 of them open, and they can actually get in and out of these little grooves too. So if you want those options, just be aware, don't make the same mistake I did. If you get the cheap version, you get the cheap version. If you go the more expensive version, you get more options. So you've got that. Why is she barking?
Me barking out.
Oh. So that is the different options of the gates. That is the hive itself. That is the swarm trap, all the equipment, the book, the knowledge, and where you can get or make all your garden beehives. So I hope that was helpful. We'll see you in the next one.